My name is Iretiola Doyle, and this is the authorized voice for the Nigerian maritime sector. Hello and welcome to Nimasa this week. Once again, Nimasa has shown its determination to carry along all the stakeholders within the maritime industry. This time, they put together a stakeholders conference to address a very critical topic, the International Ship and Ports Facility Security Code. Our field reporter, Amanda Akpan, was at this conference, and here's her report.
Following the horrific events of September 11, 2001, when terrorists struck in the United States, a renewed urgency to guard against such attacks prompted the International Maritime Organization to come up with the International Ship and Port Facility Security (ISPS) Code to secure ship and port facilities against any security threats, be they of a criminal or terrorist nature. Many member nations of the IMO, including Nigeria, quickly ratified the code. Nimasa and a host of other related government and security agencies make up the ISPS Code Implementation Committee (ICIC), which is chaired by the Executive Director, Maritime Safety and Shipping Development of Nimasa, Captain Bala Agaba. Nimasa and the ICIC on Monday 10th June at the Echo Hotel and Suites in Lagos organized a two-day General Stakeholders Conference on the implementation of the code in Nigeria. The conference proper was preceded by an opening ceremony in which the chairman of the ICIC, Captain Bala Agaba, gave a welcome address in which he spoke extempore about the urgency of the issues confronting stakeholders as regards ship and port facilities security.
Reading through the report, I've gone on to bring a national item. The ports are there, the facilities, the recommendations, and the timeline is here. Everything is here. So what we are here to do is to make sure this report comes out clean by July 31st or at latest August 31st. We must have this clean bill of health. So I expect that everybody's interest is to make sure that we come out effectively and urgently to solve this problem. We'll be called here today to talk to each other, exchange ideas on how best we can move forward.
Shortly after the welcome address, it was the turn of the Director General of Nimasa, Siakede Patrick Akpobolo-Kemi, to give an opening address in which he emphasized Nimasa's willingness to cooperate with all stakeholders to stamp out the criminal activities that have been threatening our maritime domain.
The effective implementation of the ISPS Code by Nimasa requires the cooperation of key government stakeholders at the highest level. I am greatly delighted to acknowledge that we have the cooperation and support of the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Ports Authority, and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Nimasa, in fulfillment of its responsibility as the designated authority for the ISPS Code implementation, will make enforcement and governance top on its agenda. With your support and cooperation, I am confident that we will make such great strides that our commitment to this global mandate will not be in doubt or be called to question. We will vigorously pursue ISPS Code implementation by raising the security standards of all port facilities in our country and ships that bear our nation's flag.
The National Security Advisor was represented by a director in the Office of the National Security Advisor, Uwe Isangedigi. In his speech, he underscored the need for everyone, regardless of whether or not they are members of the security structure, to be vigilant. The NSA also suggested that the outcome of the conference should be extensively publicized so as to sensitize all stakeholders on the need to be security conscious. Following the NSA's speech, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Maritime Matters, Leke Oyewole, then took the floor and officially informed the gathering of the dissolution of the Presidential Implementation Committee on Maritime Security (PICOMS) and the appointment of Nimasa as the designated authority to coordinate the implementation of the ISPS code.
Nimasa is now the designated authority and officially, and nobody is contesting that. That on its own spells enormous responsibility of the agency. The reason for yielding this responsibility to Nimasa is also very simple. Because for any agency or body or group of people to do this job effectively, we must have sound knowledge of ship operations, ship building, port operations, and port construction.
Goodwill messages from some key institutions were read out by their representatives who attended the conference. They include messages from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and the Nigerian Ports Authority. The Nigerian Navy's representative on the board of Nimasa and Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Ogunjimi, who represented the Chief of Naval Staff, gave a background to the events that led to the need to evolve the ISPS code.
When the incident of September 2001 happened, a lot of actions were set in motion. And one of it was to look at the safety of life at sea, solars, and to make some amendments. It is out of that amendment that ISPS code was instituted. And Nigeria, like other members of the global maritime community, has been fully engaged in the process of implementing appropriate measures to ensure continued compliance with the requirements of the code.
Rounding up the goodwill message was a representative of the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria.
I am honored by your invitation, and I am encouraged by the efforts to create this dialogue in this forum. Without a doubt, Nigeria faces a daunting task, exerting effective control over its ports, waterways, and ice seas, making those areas safe for commerce and passengers alike. But we are convinced that Nigeria has the capacity to address that task, to pool its resources, to align its strategies, and we applaud this Stakeholders Conference as an important step in meeting those goals. Our belief that Nigeria can meet these challenges is more than just reassuring words. We have supported and will continue to support national and regional efforts to improve maritime security in Nigerian waters.
The conference then kicked off with participants addressing questions and making suggestions to members of the ICIC who were present. We, however, caught up with Chief Isaac Jolapamo, the chairman of the Indigenous Ship Owners Association of Nigeria, ISAN, and asked him for his comments on the proceedings.
This has been an ongoing thing, and every ship owner should be ready to comply with the ISPS code. I mean, like you had in there, it's everybody's responsibility. Whether you are a ship operator, a terminal operator, and what have you. So, a ship owner or a ship owning company knows that the responsibility is on its company to comply with the ISPS.
We also ran into the Special Assistant on Technical Matters to the Honorable Minister of Transport, Professor William Estefanus, and sought his views on Nimasa's appointment as the designated authority to implement the ISPS code.
Nimasa is the government agency that was established to take care of maritime administration and safety. Now, if Nimasa is in charge of maritime administration, naturally they should be saddled with that responsibility. And because the Ministry of Transport is the supervising ministry for Nimasa, it gave it the enablement and the strength to be able to discharge its constitutional responsibility. And that is why it was made so.
The General Stakeholders Conference on the International Ship and Ports Facility Security Code entered its second day on the 11th of June 2013, and far-reaching resolutions were arrived at the end of the day. After a very frank question and answer session, as well as robust contributions from participants, the Executive Director, Maritime Safety and Shipping Development at Nimasa, Captain Ezekiel Bala Agaba, invited participants to put their recommendations in writing and forward them to his office for consideration and action. The Deputy Director, Public Relations of Nimasa, Isiche Osangbi, read the draft conference communique, which was adopted by the participants.
In the course of the two-day interactive session, the following resolutions were proposed.
The Nigerian maritime domain is a massive one with many operators and stakeholders playing therein. The administration of this domain hitherto has been fraught with many challenges ranging from inadequate resources and capacity to sabotage. The main objective of the ISPS Code is to foster an international platform for cooperation amongst contracting governments, government agencies, local administrations and the shipping and port industries to assess and tackle security threats to ship and port facilities in the maritime transport sector. The ISPS Code classifies the kinds of vessels to which the code applies and port facilities that serve such ships. These include jetties, berthing terminals, ports, mobile and offshore production and loading platforms. All port facilities operating in Nigeria must be duly registered with Nimasa as the designated authority, including the nature of operations they are engaged in, describing the port facility and ship interface. We shall continue to update you on the ISPS Code and the responsibilities of Nimasa as the designated authority in subsequent episodes of the program.
This present leadership of Nimasa is an entirely new one. Our commitment to ridding our waterways of pirates and armed robbers is unassailable. We will do everything within the confines of the law to track the mastermind of piracy in Nigeria and theft of oil products. So we are using this opportunity to sound a note of warning to those who are presently in this line of business and those who might want to join them. If we catch anybody that is involved in oil theft, piracy or armed robbery, we will deal with the person within the ambits of the law without regard to the person's social, traditional or whatever pedigree or status. The law must take its course.
The International Maritime Organization has since the 25th of June 2010 designated the day Seafarers' Day. The day was set aside to pay tribute to seafarers for their invaluable contributions to the global economy, as well as recognize the risks and personal losses they bear in the course of doing their jobs. This year, the day will be observed by Nimasa in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. All maritime nations and member states of the IMO are expected to organize one event or the other to commemorate the day.
Now, on our show today, we shall be paying tribute to the women involved in the maritime trade. Our feature report will focus on the contributions that they've made to this thriving industry, as well as some of the challenges that they face, while also highlighting the opportunities that exist for women within the maritime industry. This report is brought to us courtesy of the Media Office of the International Maritime Organization, with supporting reports from our studios.
Shipping has historically been a male-dominated industry, and that tradition runs long and deep. However, through its global program on the integration of women in the maritime sector, IMO is making a concerted effort to help the industry move on from that tradition and to help women achieve the representation within it that is more in keeping with the 21st century expectation.
The IMO program is called the Integration of Women in the Maritime Sector, integration being the key word. This program is the foundation of the way IMO implements MDG 3 through the provision of fellowships for training and the establishment of regional networks so that women can exchange fully and easily information and technical advice across their regions.
As this network reveals, while good progress is being made in many parts of the world, there remains practical, social and cultural obstacles to be overcome, and there are very significant regional differences in the level of acceptance achieved by women in shipping. WMESA, the Association for Women Managers in the Maritime Sector in Eastern and Southern Africa, draws its members from 24 different countries. Its current chairman is Menaski from Mauritius, who works with our country's maritime administration. She pays tribute to the part played by IMO in helping to develop a career.
Thanks to IMO, I have been able to go to the World Maritime University to pursue my postgraduate studies in maritime affairs, specializing in shipping management, which was also very important for me because it helped me to understand so many things about the industry.
Nancy Karigitu has risen to become the Director General of the Kenyan Maritime Authority. She graduated from the International Maritime Law Institute, another IMO establishment, and also greatly values the influence of WMESA.
We are very few at the top, and this is very encouraging. We've built a network that is very supportive of one another and also aims and is working towards demystifying the maritime sector for young girls.
Is a similar story elsewhere in the world. In Nigeria, for example, an association known as Women International Shipping and Trading Association, WISTA, has taken on the responsibility of promoting the interests of women in the maritime sector. The president of the association in Nigeria, Jean Chiazo Anishiri, sums up the fortunes of women in the maritime trade in Nigeria.
It is noteworthy that women hold very vital positions in the Maritime Agency. And let's start with Nimasa, which is the regulatory body for the Maritime Agency in Nigeria. In Nimasa at the moment, the director of cabotage is a woman, Mrs. Etete, and that is very key. You know, cabotage as it is now, it's the commercial base of the industry. And if you also look at the environmental department of the Nimasa institution, you will find that a woman is the head of that department. I'm talking about Mrs. Juliana Gowan. Going down Mrs. Juliana Gowan's department, you find that women are subordinates. But I mustn't forget to say that we've also had a woman as the CEO of Nimasa, and that is the person of Mrs. Mfon Ekong Usoro.
Indeed, the Nigerian Maritime Regulatory Agency, Nimasa, has been very gender-friendly, as attested to by Mrs. Oruwari Tete, the Nimasa Director of Cabotage.
Nimasa have been gender-friendly, quite all right. If you look at the management structure, we have women in the hierarchy. Like MEM, for instance, we have the acting director of MEM is a woman. The deputy director of MEM is a woman. The assistant director of MEM is a woman. And then also in other departments, like the acting legal advisor is a woman. If you look at protocol, is a woman. Deputy director administration department is a woman. You know, and also which other department? NSDP the assistant director is a woman.
Advocacy for the entire shipping industry is the responsibility of the Nigerian Chamber of Shipping, which has a woman, Ifya Kirile, as the Director General. She has also made it a point to promote the participation of women in shipping.
We are really very, very much aware of who we are in the maritime industry, and we support ourselves, and we recognize that we need to mentor. We need to bring up those coming behind us. We have mentorship programs. We try, because we are not very financially solid, but the little we can do, and of course Nimasa and NPA always chip in their bit. The little we can do, we always try to mentor younger ones, to come up and tell them that there's something in this sector for you. And that I can see a lot of interest growing.
All in all, it appears that more and more women in Nigeria are taking up careers in the maritime industry, a situation that gladdens the heart of Margaret Orakwusi, a pioneering woman in the industry and one-time president of the Trawler Owners Association of Nigeria.
I think what is happening here, why we are seeing more women and female-related activities pronounced in the industry, is the fact that we recognized the need to form an association, come together, encourage ourselves, and watch out for ourselves. Having said so, we have women now, like Uju Ifejika. She is big-time maritime woman. She owns her own vessels. She's been able to really succeed where even few men aspire to succeed.
More and more women are now finding their way into seafaring careers in spite of the very difficult obstacles that exist from them on account of entrenched traditions and a host of other practical reasons that still prevail. However, in Nigeria, these entrenched traditions and hurdles are being confronted. Jinchiazo Onishore explains how.
Nimasa thankfully started this NSDP program, the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program, and I'm aware that since the inception of that brilliant program, Nimasa has turned out over 100 females, to be trained all over in some parts of the world on seafaring. I like to believe that by next year we should have some female cadet officers, seafarers who are now qualified, haven't been trained, haven't been licensed, haven't obtained the requisite sea time, come back home and man the vessels.
There is no doubt that increasing opportunities for women to serve at sea will be beneficial for many sectors of the industry. And just as society as a whole benefits from the full active participation of women in the working environment, so does the industry benefit from their wholesale integration into the workforce.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of the establishment of a special program for women in development, the integration of women in the maritime sector through IMO. And we can safely say that empowering women fuels thriving economies across the world. It spurs growth and development, and it benefits every single stakeholder in the global maritime community.
The Nigerian chapter of Women's International and Trading Association WISTA will be hosting the 4th African Women in Shipping Conference from 26th to 28th of June 2013 in Lagos at the Eco Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island. The theme of the conference is Maritime Industry in Africa, Challenges and Prospects. The conference will provide a platform for stakeholders, especially women in the maritime industry on the African continent, to network, interact and exchange ideas to advance the development of the maritime industry in Africa. Delegates are expected from other African countries such as Kenya, Senegal, Mauritius, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin Republic, Gambia and even the United Arab Emirates.
Up next is the Maritime Cargo Report, which is simply a breakdown of cargo and ships expected to berth in ports within the Lagos Pilotage District this week. As always, the Maritime Cargo Report is brought to you courtesy of the Shipping Development Department of Nimasa.
4 motor vessels are expected at the Lagos Pilotage District this week. One of the vessels is carrying bulk wheat. The second vessel have on board bulk malt only. The third vessel have bulk malt and maize as commodities, while the fourth one is loaded with bulk sugar. 7 motor tanker vessels are also awaiting berth at the Lagos Pilotage District this week. Out of these 7, 6 of them are laden with PMS, also referred to as petrol, while the remaining one of the vessels is carrying Jet A1, also known as aviation fuel.
Now that is our show for this week. As always, we hope we kept you educated and informed. Now please don't forget, Nimasa this week is an interactive show. We want to hear your questions, your comments, and even your criticisms. All you need to do is send an email to the address currently showing on your screen. Now as always, I'm going to be here same time, same station next week. Until then, I'm wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.